after the game, Mike Tomlin, the longtime Steeler coach, unloaded on the Steelers in his postgame presser, and it was wonderful. And if you did not hear this, and maybe you missed it, we have audio proof here, and we're going to walk you through a lot of this. Now, Tomlin began his media session with about a minute rant blistering his players, the coaching staff, and essentially said, not much to be proud of if you like the Pittsburgh Steelers.
To be bluntly honest, man, I'm really disappointed in our performance tonight. We did enough to win, but that's all. It was really junior varsity, to be quite honest with you, and it was in all three phases. We couldn't run the ball effectively when we needed to. We dropped too many significant passes, very catchable, makeable passes. We didn't make significant plays in the special teams game. Our kickoff coverage unit wasn't good enough. We turned the damn ball over. We gave up big plays in critical moments on defense. Can't have it. They converted a long run on a possession down before the half. Unacceptable. They had a 70-yard touchdown late in the game. Unacceptable. And so we're fortunate tonight. It's good to proceed with the victory. I acknowledge that, but not a lot happened tonight to be proud of or to be excited about other than that.
All right, so that was the beginning salvo from Mike Tomlin. And then the media, as they often do, they're apologists for the coaches and the players. So some of the Steeler media was making excuses about all the time, the lag time, and this game was supposed to be played on Thanksgiving night. Here we are almost a week later when the game finally kicked off, and Tomlin was not having any of that.
We make no excuses. We seek no comfort. We didn't play well or coach well tonight.
See, that's what I like. I'm not a Steeler fan. I got no skin in the game, but I want my coach to sound like that. I don't want to have my coach come out and say, well, we tried. I don't make excuses, but our offensive line was banged up, and our quarterback had this and that and the other thing. All right, here's more from Mike Tomlin. Now, he pointed out the Steelers have a quick turnaround. They play early next week, and Tomlin was asked if there's enough time to fix everything, and he pointed out this is not exactly rocket science.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's not some transformational thing that needs to transpire. We got to coach better and play better when we get inside a bowl. And so I expect our group to do that on Monday night or Monday evening, whenever it is that we play.
There you go. See, he doesn't even know when they play next. And they might not play then because maybe there'll be another COVID outbreak and they'll move the game to Thursday or Tuesday or whenever. All right, now I saved what I consider the gold bar to the very end. All right, I hope you're ready for the gold bar. Are you ready? All right, buckle up, buckaroo. So Mike Tomlin, you're going to hear the question and the answer on this one, and it was an outstanding response to a dopey question. But here is Tomlin giving an honest answer when asked about all of the mistakes.
Mike, you had some red zone failures and a number of drop passes. What do you attribute that to? Anything in particular?
Us sucking.
That you will be hearing that for the foreseeable future. That is a drop. That will be a drop on the show. And I'm not sure whether we want the question in there. I think just us sucking would sum it up. I think that's all we need. I don't think we need the question, but that's the great Mike Tomlin. All right, so this is the rare and appropriate exception to the rule. Don't be busting my balls on this. The better story in this game is in the Steeler locker room. Even though they won the game, it didn't look like they won the game. So let us discuss. Now, what does this say about the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers? This was for a team that was unbeaten and is looking at the possibility of becoming an all-time team. You go undefeated during the regular season, you're in the conversation with all-time great teams. This was an embarrassment. Pittsburgh, the only undefeated team left in the NFL, and they struggled. They struggled to get any separation against a bunch of backups, a bunch of nobodies that were playing in Ravens uniforms. And based on that performance, you'd have to say you can't really take the Steelers all that seriously, right? They have to be in that category called overrated. So you got to downgrade them. You got to downgrade the Steelers if you're being fair. Pittsburgh did not look or feel like a championship-level squad. And it was the great John Wooden, one of his many quotes there, the Wizard of Westwood, who said, make every day your masterpiece. It's a great quote. Make every day your masterpiece. Now, not to be heartless here, because I know there's a lot of people that listen to the show that love the Steelers, but the Steelers played like they had constipation. You ever had constipation and try to do something? My God. The offense, to say it was bogged down, I don't know if that's doing it justice to say it was bogged down. It was worse than that. It was brutal. And all those trivial details, blocking, tackling, throwing, catching, they were a hot mess. They were a hot mess, serving sloppy joes, right at the mess hall, serving sloppy joes there. And the Ravens, the first 4 drives for Baltimore, 3 and out 3 times. And the second drive, they had 1 play, and that was RG3 fumble on the handoff. And then the Steelers muffed a punt, and Baltimore took over at the Pittsburgh 16-yard line, and that is how they set up that touchdown. The early touchdown, the first touchdown of the game, was scored on a short 16-yard field. And according to Pro Football Focus, Pittsburgh had 5 drops. I don't think that's true. I believe they had more. It seemed like every time I looked, every other play, there was a receiver dropping a pass in the black and gold of the Steelers. I think it was closer to 10, but they said it was 5. I don't believe that. Now back to Mike Tomlin. Part B here. Mike Tomlin's post-game presser. The word here, priceless. We played some of the creme de la creme of that. And I have had a love-hate relationship with Tomlin over the years. I fired him several times. He's this emotional, heated, borderline hysterical rant. That is Mike Tomlin at its best. That is vintage Mike Tomlin. You can say that's for the cameras and that's for the radio shows when Tomlin does that, but I find it refreshing. I guess I'm a sucker. If this is all an act by Tomlin, I'm enjoying the show. I would like to see an encore performance. I've always found it refreshing when someone in sports actually appears to have accountability. We have so much, especially now in the 2020 where we are. I mean, everyone's wallowing in victimhood and all that. And so I know sports are different than life, and it's just a microcosm. But I'm so used to hearing athletes going, "Woe is me! We had it so difficult. We didn't know when we were going to play. Boo-hoo! It's not fair." Right? We coaches do it now. We see coaches all the time. The other day, Doug Peterson after the Eagle game, he said no excuses after giving about 45 seconds worth of excuses. Now, we got none of that rigmarole with Mike Tomlin. He was a human blowtorch, called his team junior varsity, handing out scalding analysis of his team. Now, he didn't name any specific players, just in general. And it's good to see because excuses are the tools of the incompetent. That's in their toolbox. If you're incompetent, you make excuses. And so this is why Mike Tomlin doesn't deal in that kind of nonsense. He doesn't. And so that rant was music to my ears. And we got a new drop. Can we play that last one again, Roberto? I want to play. You got to hear this. This is the Tomlin drop. This is the greatest answer when somebody's asking why your team didn't play well.
Some red zone failures and a number of drop passes. Would you attribute that to anything in particular?
Us sucking.
I love that. That is priceless. All right, last word here. So some low information fans and just idiots on television. I hear this a lot, and also on radio. The gas bags occasionally. Well, a win's a win's a win's a win. Well, win's a win's a win. It's not necessarily true, right? There is some nuance involved in this, and from years of experience behind the microphones in sports radio, we know that the wins and losses, that's how you grade these things, but there are different layers to it, right? There are things called empty wins. There are those, and if this was a novel, we would call it 50 Shades of Gray, right? There's different layers to it. The Steelers get no style points, as we've laid out. Drowning and then being saved by a lifeguard does not make you a great swimmer. And they had an opportunity to bury a damaged division rival for a day, and instead they corkscrewed themselves into a much closer game. To not even score 20 points against a mixed bag of backups and guys you never heard of for the Ravens. That is a hollow performance. And Pittsburgh's victory, there's a term for this, the kind of win that the Steelers got. It's called a Pyrrhic victory. Look it up. Pyrrhic victory. And it's a win that inflicts such a devastating toll on the victor that it is tantamount to a defeat. And so while Pittsburgh won the game, I'm speaking of Bud Dupree, the linebacker, the franchise-tagged defensive stud for the Pittsburgh Steelers. State-sponsored NFL media reporting that he tore up his MCL. He is gone. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. End of the season. That is the fear. They're going to have more tests to confirm that. But if that is accurate, state-sponsored NFL media reporting it, that's from the horse's mouth. This is a just gigantic body blow. And the only realistic path, watching the Steelers offense, and Roethlisberger's played better than I expected this year, but the only real path for the Steelers, I think we can agree on this, even if you're a Steeler lapdog, to win in the playoffs, that defense has to be near shutdown level. They have to dominate, manhandle opponents in the postseason. That's the nuts and the bolts of Pittsburgh. That's their identity. And Bud Dupree is a headliner on that defense, and now he is out. Outskis. That is a shot below the belt. That is, you talk about being bludgeoned, and that is a bludgeoned situation, is what it is.